Welcome to Soul Sister Stories, where we dive into profound journeys of spiritual awakening with inspiring women. I'm Rika Markel, your host on this journey. My passion is to empower you to tune into your soul's whispers by presenting you the stories of soul sisters who have dared to dream and live extraordinary lives while helping others doing the same. Hi everyone, we are here with another episode of Soul Sisters Stories, and today I have a special guest. Her name is Corina LaVonne, and I am very excited to have her. We are friends for a while now, and we never met in person, but we are talking a lot, and I think we have so much in common, and I cannot wait to share her story, or she's going to share her story with you. Corina, welcome to Soul Sisters Stories, and just go ahead, introduce yourself to our people.
Hey, thank you. I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful to be invited to have this conversation with you, this recorded conversation with you. My name is Corina LaVonne, and as you just said, we've been friends for quite a while now, and we have these beautiful every week, but pretty often these beautiful, just expansive conversations. And so for me, I'm excited to have that so we can share it with the world.
Share your story. What we do usually here on Soul Sister Stories, we want to know your spiritual path. What did you do? And I know that there is like a spiritual awakening in your life. A lot of people are craving to have that. So we would love to hear all about that.
I could talk for hours about the story, so I'll make a shorter version of it. So basically, I was involved in spirituality all my life. So a lot of people can usually point to some time in their life where they discovered spirituality, or they left organized religion, or, when they had their spiritual awakening, their first spiritual awakening, where they discovered that there was something more than this physical 3D reality. And there is a power in our internal world that has an effect in our outer world, rather than using the outer world to create effects in the outer world. Everybody kind of has that moment. I don't have one because I was raised with this stuff. I was raised with this information. I was raised using crystals. I was raised with meditation and visualization and all of that. But what I would describe as my first personalized spiritual awakening, because when you're raised with this stuff and you're taught it and it's normal in your life, everyone kind of has that inner moment of like, this, whatever I'm doing feels like there's something more than what I'm doing, right? And so I would say for me, that really happened when I was a teenager, and the first little spark that I can remember when I started my own personal spiritual journey was when I read The Alchemist. I have read that book so many times since then. When I read it in one sitting, I was like, this is going to be my new Bible. Because my biggest fear at the time was getting trapped in all of the things that we should do. And I really loved at the time when I first read it, how the book really focuses on following your heart where your heart is leading you, and not getting trapped in the shoulds or the mediocreness or anything, like really just trusting and following your heart and your inner voice. And so the next little spark, I would say, was when I saw the movie The Secret, and I forget if it was late 2005 or early 2006, but I think it came out around 2006. So whenever it came out, I saw The Secret, and I just remember I had been taught this stuff before, but it didn't really fully seep in, or I didn't get it on the level that I got it after I saw The Secret. Rhonda Byrne is really great at taking these concepts and breaking it down so you can teach a 5-year-old. She's really good at just like boiling it down to the most simple way of explaining it and putting it out in the world. So that moment, because I didn't have an easy growing up. I was diagnosed with depression. I was bullied in high school. I had a really, really hard time growing up, especially in those teenage years, an older kid to younger adult years. And I remember thinking before this, like, what did I do something? Was I a horrible person in a past life to deserve this? Like, when is it going to be my turn to feel happiness? When is it going to be my turn to win, to have something good happen in my life? It just felt like my whole life was just this like shittiness. Am I allowed to say that on here?
Yes, of course you are. Of course.
So that was kind of the mentality I was in. Like, what? Poor me. That very victim mentality place. And so seeing The Secret and made me realize oh my gosh, this very cycle of why me, poor me, my life is miserable. I'm creating this cycle of creating more of the same because I'm in this miserable mental and emotional state all the time. And I'm not, and I have the power to shift direction by changing my thoughts and changing what I'm feeding with my energy and my vibration. So that was a huge freeing moment to me. And fast forward, that became my passion and my obsession. And I knew that there was more to it than what was described in The Secret. The Secret like leaves out a lot of stuff. And so I just became obsessed with learning more and more and more and reading and like learning more about how all of this works. And I became really good at manifesting, really good at manifesting. However, that being said, it's like I had the manifestation process down. However, I really wasn't becoming any happier. I would manifest the things. I manifest the partner. I manifest the money. I manifest these vacations, like all these amazing quote unquote miracles. But I was still just experiencing so much unhappiness in my life. And there were a few reasons why that I discovered much, much later why that was happening. One is that nothing we seek in our outer world is going to create lasting peace and happiness. The second is that I was focusing on like forcing myself to try to think positive, forcing myself to try to raise my vibration and feel those positive emotions. But I was still repressing, I was ignoring and repressing all that negativity that was stuck in me, not really stuck in me, but we can use that language for this purpose. I wasn't looking at it. I was resisting it, and what you resist persists. So not only was I manifesting all the stuff that I was like forcefully working hard to manifest, but I was also manifesting all the stuff that I wasn't looking at consciously. I was, because I manifest the partner, but then the partner would end up being abusive. I manifest the money, but then it left just as fast as it came. I manifest the vacation, but I was miserable on the vacation. It was like there were two sides of the coin because not only do our conscious intentions manifest, but also it's playing out in the subconscious or unconscious is going to manifest as well. So when we don't look at everything, things can manifest that we may not be consciously aware of. Anyway, so that's one thing. Those are the two main things actually. And so finally it really occurred to me that I needed to do something different because again I wasn't happy again. And I really threw myself into two things that changed that. This is like where the big three, like 180 change, where like this is old Corina and this is new Corina happened. And that was when I dove myself into a consistent daily gratitude practice, which helped me raise my main state. And then deep healing work, where as all the junk came up, I looked at it. I looked at it and I worked through it and I let it move out of me. I let this energy move through me and move out of me. So this is all before the non-dual awakening. But those are important things to bring up because they really did change my life. It was almost like priming me to be ready to see our true nature. And, so for some people, some people discover their true nature in their deepest, darkest moments of suffering. But for me, it was more of a progressive climbing out of that deepest, darkest suffering. And then when I was ready, you get led to the right teacher when you're ready.
So true. It's so true.
Yeah. I eventually became a coach and I knew manifestation inside out. So that's, of course, what I ended up teaching and helping people with. But there was still it was a lot of mental knowledge. So there was still this, not doubt, but kind of like, what if everything, it felt like there was something missing. And also there was so much information that I was getting from other people teaching other stuff and a lot of conflicting information. And I was like, I don't know what's right anymore. I don't know what's real. I don't know what's true. It all like, I had some ideas, I had some guesses, but there was no way to know. And it's like, am I just doomed to not knowing? And so I had already downloaded the book, The Greatest Secret, also by Rhonda Byrne, onto Audible when it came out because I read all her books because of her first movie, The Secret, being so transformational for me. And I had already listened to it several times. And the whole time I was thinking, oh yeah, this is basic. I already know this stuff. This is like kindergartner stuff. I already know this. Like, yeah, we're awareness. I know that we're consciousness. I know that this is all an illusion. I know that you got to feel through your emotions to heal them. She does the welcoming practice. Yeah, I know that. But it was all mental knowledge. It wasn't a clear seeing. It was all this mental knowledge that I had gathered. And so I had dismissed it because I thought I already knew it. I was
Yeah,
paying attention to the
I
words
relate to
and
that. I relate to
yeah.
it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paying attention to the information and the words and not actually what was being pointed at. So then I ended up one night, I don't know if it was a night or morning, but I was in bed and I just remember like just feeling frustrated and crying and being like, just show me the truth. I just want to know the truth. God, angels, the universe, whoever or whatever is out there, show me the truth. And I got this intuitive nudge to go and buy the physical book of The Greatest Secret. So I'd already listened to it on Audible, and I don't remember what the nudge was, but I remember like I need to go and actually like sit with this book and really just have my full attention on this book. And I did, and a part of me was like, oh, wait a minute. I see there's something being pointed at here. And I was like, I didn't have self-realization from reading the book, but I could see that there was something being pointed at in between the words. In this, you know what I mean? In the spaces
Yeah,
between the words.
I get it. I get it. I get it. 100%. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I started practicing her suggestion, which actually I think she got from Rupert Spira. Well,
Yeah.
actually, it's a pretty common thing teaching is to ask yourself, am I aware? So I started doing that. I would go for these nature walks and I would say, am I aware? And then my mind would come in and go, yes, of course you're aware. And oh my gosh, look, yeah, you're
Ta, ta,
having,
ta, ta, ta.
yeah, you're about to have an experience. You're gonna have self-realization. And I'm like, no, that's just my mind narrating it. So it was like this battle with myself. And I think it was David Farmer who actually said that this happened to him. And I realized that I was doing the same thing. He said that he was looking for like a secondary awareness. And I
Yeah.
realized that that's what I was doing. I was looking for some secondary awareness when I was doing that practice. Like, when am I going to see this like higher awareness? This awareness that I'm supposed to be. I didn't realize that the very awareness that was aware of all of it is the awareness. So I was like, okay, I need some help with this. So I looked in the back of the book and I was attracted to the fact that David Bingham was how Rhonda Byrne realized her true nature. I booked a session with him and then I binged his conscious TV
Yeah.
shows. And I had a call with him, and it was a very enlightening call, but I did not see my true nature on that call. I was more, again, when I got on that call, I was like asking all the wrong questions. You know, I was looking for more information. So I had these guesses about how the universe worked, and I was like, oh, is this true? And is this true? And he's like, well, it could be, but, and he's very gracious and kept bringing it back to what is effortlessly arising in your awareness. And so for me, unlike, you know, I know for you it was very instantaneous on the call, and for a lot of other people there's like this moment. For me it was this more of like a blooming of a flower. Self-realization happened as a gentle unfolding rather than like one moment where I was like, whoa, you know. So it started with the like there's something being pointed to, and then I had this call with David Bingham, and he just said, after we got off the call, he said, you can watch this again, but also just keep going back into the effortless being and noticing what you're aware of. And then I remember sending him an email and saying, well, I haven't had an experience yet. And he's like, that's just a mind trap. He didn't use those words, but he basically pointed that it was a mind trap because it's non-experiential. It's always happening. And so it was like every time I got trapped, I got pointed back to it being what it is, our isness, this very awareness. And it was like another piece of illusion fell away until one moment it was like, whoa, it's just this. Like, but again, it was an instant. It was like I can't pinpoint the very moment, but I can know that there was an after and a before.
Yeah,
Because the before I was still wondering if I got it. I didn't think I was truly like self-realized or whatever. Because I didn't have it didn't feel or happen like I thought it should or would. And then there was a moment where I was like, so there was the before and there was the after. And somewhere along the line, I was just kind of like, okay, I'm very solid in my knowing. This is it. This is it. This has been it the whole time. So that's my story.
Beautiful story. I love the story. Why? Because it's very similar to mine. Although there is like I did realize my true nature when I was talking to David Bingham, but don't kid yourself. There was like a fallback. It wasn't like a straight story. Like some people recognize their true nature and that's it, and they stay in that state. That was not my case. And it was like, and that's why we talk and we recognize very similar patterns and then also different stuff, but it doesn't really matter because whatever it is, it's only a story. What you
Yeah,
say, it's just
exactly.
a concept, it's just something your mind is trying to convince you that it is not true. And then depends on
Exactly.
you sign up for that story that you
Hmm.
got, you know. Again, I think the one thing that we agree on is that people are sometimes very focused on what they think it should look like
Hmm. Yeah.
because somebody told them that this is how it should look like, and that
Hmm.
it's not always true. And I think we are very similar in just having that message to the world, like
Yeah.
it's not always what you think it is. And if people tell you, like I had those people also on my YouTube channel say, oh, you definitely didn't recognize, you're definitely did not recognize your true nature because you wouldn't say
Yeah.
this and this if it was. And in the beginning,
Hmm.
I was like, oh my God, yeah, that's probably true. But again, it's just a story. And I think the reason why we do Soul Sister stories is because I want to show the world that everybody's spiritual path is different and not
Hmm.
better, not worse, not it just is, and part of our journey. And
Yeah.
so tell us a little bit about what you like one of the things that you see when people have their moments, no matter what how it looks like, that they cannot help themselves but want to share with the world, and that they want to become they are going to live way more in service of others. Doesn't mean that we're slaves, but it's something like shifts inside of you that
Hmm.
you want to contribute to a better world.
Yeah.
Better world comes by informing people. So what was
Mhm.
that for you? How did that look like for you?
For when I knew that I wanted to share this,
Yes.
or
How did that happen?
um,
Like why like people are some people have they have a spiritual business, but it doesn't mean that they do
mhm.
it because they really have that urge that they cannot help themselves but
Yeah.
share. There's different let's say there's different grades in it.
Yeah. So I had a spiritual business. I was a manifestation coach, or some ways still am. So after I saw my true nature, I did talk a little bit about it, but I didn't really notice a lot of interest. So I just kind of went back to manifestation because it's what people were looking for. And in my mind at the time, I was thinking, okay, well, I will teach manifestation, but then I'll drip this knowledge in, like if and if they're ready for it, then they're ready for it, But so also during that time, things were still dropping away. Parts of illusion were still dropping away. And there were times where I was like, oh, I'm not actually self realized. Oh, this person had an experience and I didn't have an experience. Or this person, there's some people who do the like not uncompromising non duality. Is that what it's called? I forget. But
Whatever.
which just like there is no one, there is nothing, there's not even an I, there and anything, and if you stray out or talk about it in any other way, all of a sudden it's you're wrong. So that had me questioning myself too. So there was a lot of falling away. But then I felt very solid in what had happened and what I knew and what I could see clearly. I guess a lot of people say that's when the seeking of who and what we truly are ends. It's the end of seeking. When I felt that was pretty solid, then I became more vocal because it was like, okay, now I'm ready because it's so easy and it's so here and it's so obvious. It's like me telling you there's a cup here. Oh, but what? Where is the cup? No, but it's right here. There's a cup here. Look at the cup. It's right here. But it's not. And it's like you just want to tell everyone because once you see it, it's so obvious and it's so clear, and other people see it, but they're looking for something else. You know what I mean? Other people.
Yeah, I do. I do.
Yeah, we all experience our isness. We're all aware that there's awareness, and that's it. And so it's like they call it the greatest secret or the great cosmic joke because it's like me telling you you have breath. They say that
Yeah,
it's
same thing.
closer than your own breath. Yeah. And so it's just kind of that once I felt really solid in what I see clearly, you can't help but just want to shout it from the rooftops and to tell everybody and say, hey, look.
Yeah. And again, I also very much relate to that. Like
Yeah.
yeah, you want to shout it from the root that it is here. Like it
Mm-hmm.
is. It just is. And
Mm-hmm.
on the other hand, I also went away in the beginning when I was really like full blown in it, and I still am, but it's in a different, it has a different coat. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
And then you're like, there's nothing to seek. It's all there. And when I read the book, when I read The Greatest Secret again after my awakening, and I read it, I'm like, oh my God, it's just all over in every sentence, on every page. How could I have missed
Mhm.
that? So I was so excited about that. But then on the other hand, when you don't see it, you don't see it. And so I didn't want to tell people there's nothing to seek, it's there, it's there, it's there, because that
Yeah.
doesn't help them. It just makes them more
No.
insecure, and it just makes them
Mhm.
more doubting themselves. And so
Yeah.
I stepped it back a little, and
Hmm.
I'm just trying to talk about it. And I hope that the same way that I had my moment in a conversation with David Bingham, and
Hmm.
a lot of people watched that conversation, and while they
Yeah.
will watch, they saw their true nature, which is
Yeah.
like, I still get goosebumps every time I get a, so like, that makes me so happy. And so
Yeah.
that's why I want to have the conversations that we have, because I know that the people that are listening to this, that are watching us, they have the capability of, because of our conversation, to
Yeah.
also get closer to, and again, if I say seeing it, feeling it, knowing it, anything that any word that I use is not pointing to what it really is. Okay. So it's
Mhm.
very difficult to, and I know that we discussed it many times, that our words are not covering what we really want to say. Like when we use a word, and we have that because we are vocal, we're out there, we talk to the world, and we are not ashamed or shy, or we just say it, even though we know that the words that we are using are very limited. I know
Yeah.
you have that feeling too.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. I say that once you start using words, well, I'm not the only one who says that. A lot of people say once you start using words, you're good at going back into the dualistic mode. So what I say is that once you start using words, it's the shadow of the thing. It's not the thing itself. It's just the shadow of it. It's what the words are pointing to. The moment a word comes out of your mouth, it's not it. Even like the words that we use, consciousness, awareness, your true nature, the isness, whatever words, they're just trying the shadows of what it is, and all we can do is find the best shadows that can help people look and see.
Yeah, and one of the things
Mm-hmm.
I always say is that then, and I heard it somewhere, but I forgot where it was, and maybe you know, but I heard somebody say, like, you can't get wet from the word water, and that is exactly what it is. Like, you can't get wet from
Mm-hmm.
the word water. The words are not what it is. That is
Yeah,
just like what we use to point to it, but it is
yeah,
not what it is. It's just a pointing to it. When you use
exactly.
water, you point to the water, and that thing that you point to, that's something you can use to drink or whatever, but it's not the word that you're drinking. So that is the pointing to, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
I think when I say something like that, that can help people to understand that the words are not doing it justice. Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
let me go
yeah.
back.
And
No, sorry. Go ahead.
no,
I'm sorry. Didn't want
I
to.
was just going to say, why some teachers just sit in silence as they're teaching. They
Yeah.
just will go in front of an audience or go on camera and just and sit in silence. I don't think that that's helpful for everyone, but I understand why, because it's the closest thing. Once you start using words, you're in duality. But there's all these different paths. There's the whole point of you doing this. There's all these different paths. There's all these different teachings. There's all these different analogies. And for some people, I guess the uncompromising or non-compromising, whatever they call it, non-duality, where it's just like we eliminate any chance for the mind to take hold of something, that's going to work for some people. And for other people, you need a little bit more of a framework and a little bit more of analogies and stories to help you get it.
No, and I also think that no matter how you slice or dice it, we do live in a
Mm-hmm.
dualistic world. We
Mm-hmm.
do have an up and a down, a front and a back. And once you are in this physical reality, which we are not, but once you're in it, there is those two sides. I think it's also not so helpful for people. You see them sitting there. I know, like, I think it was Steel Swan that I heard her say, Like she's not so into the whole non-duality, the real
Mm.
the diehards. She says, yeah, then there's this woman sitting there. She says, yeah, my son passed away last week, but it's not even real. It's not really happening. And so, that is like not helpful for that woman in that moment because she's not even, she's just completely in denial. What you
Yeah.
explain is something that is holding you back. When you are in
Hmm.
denial and you're just pushing it away, you want to be enlightened, but you're not, but you're trying to pretend as if you are. So you're just suppressing everything that it's like it's gonna start cooking and boiling, and you
Yeah.
never get anywhere. And so that's where you also point to, and what you also teach people, that
Yeah.
the suppressing is not going to get you closer. So,
No.
and yeah, and then I want to get a little bit closer to how you help people. I know you have clearing methods, but you also help people just in conversation, getting them closer
Mhm.
to recognizing their true nature. So, how can people work with you?
So I have two offers that are open to anyone, and they are, affordable and like easy to access, which is really important to me. And one is a non-duality conversation. I call them "You Are That" sessions, but it's just an open conversation where if you have questions or you want some help with integration or you want to be pointed to your true nature, we can have whatever kind of conversation you need in that call. And then I have my QRT sessions, and QRT stands for quick release technique. Those are not necessary, but it's for what you're talking about. It's for when you're so deep in the human mode and you have all this stuff and you don't know how to hold it all or witness it all and release it all. This helps you see these contracted energies and these stuck emotions and release them for good.
And I think I truly believe in your QRT methods
Yeah.
because it is quick and it will
Mm-hmm.
release. In my opinion, if people want to go faster, and I was driving all day and I was listening to Michael Singer, like one podcast after the other. And he also explained today that when you are not happy, when you're in a spot where, like you explained, like you have it all, but you're still not happy, he says the
Mm-hmm.
only reason why that is because there are blockages. You're not
Mm-hmm.
fully connected. There are things, and then your feelings are going to show you where those blockages are. They're just like, they're not
Mm-hmm.
your feelings. He's definitely aware of his true nature. And so he says, the feelings that come up, they point to something that is stuck. And when there is like something not flowing, you cannot be happy. And it's, of course, I paraphrase, and it's like out of 3 hours of a lecture of 3 hours, which I now condense in one line. But it is the truth. Like if you are unhappy, usually it comes from a blockage, which is like the basic, it's basic stuff. If the
Yeah.
energy is not flowing, you are going to you want to find something outside of you to make up for that. So let's say you're
Mm-hmm.
unhappy, you're gonna try to find you're gonna eat something, you're gonna drink something, you're gonna go to the movies, whatever. You're going to try to fill that void. And so the better part is to not fill the void, but to let it come up and release it. And so in
Yeah.
that's where you come in with your
Yeah.
method, which I think is extremely easy, helpful,
Mm-hmm.
fast. You don't even have to know. It goes very, like I experienced it multiple times, and I think it's very valuable. It really does a great job in just getting to the next level. It doesn't
Yeah.
it's not going to get you enlightened all of a sudden, but it could. It
No.
could. I'm not saying it's not,
Mhm.
but I don't want to get expectations out there, but it definitely will help. 100%.
Yeah, and it's not necessary, like as you don't need any of this in order to see your true nature. Your true nature's already there. It's just a tool. It's just a tool. We all have our areas where tools can help us get there faster because we're caught up in certain mind stories, and it just helps release those mind stories so you're more primed to see clearly what's actually there and what's real and what isn't. It's funny
Yeah.
that you mentioned how like it really is really easy and it is really quick, and it's not hypnotherapy or meditation or anything that we have to like go deep. It's just a quick process to the point where I actually did my QRT session on somebody in the bar the other day.
Yeah, I can so imagine.
I was meeting some friends for a birthday party, and I met somebody and we started talking about all this non-duality, and I brought him from frustration and anger to the peaceful state in about 30 seconds.
Yeah, I know, I know. And again, I also understand when you are in the whole non-duality spirit that they say you don't need it, you don't need to meditate, you don't need to do anything. And that is all true, but it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
So I have to be honest with myself. I am on the spiritual path. I'm Reiki master teacher, the whole thing. And it never brought me to where, like, in that moment, it never brought me where I am today. But I also believe that if I wouldn't have done all those things, that I probably also wouldn't have recognized my true nature in one conversation with somebody that pointed it to me. So that's why I don't like it that much when people say, "Oh, there's nothing to do, there's nothing to seek, there and it can happen." That is true. That is all true. But it didn't happen for me that way. And I was on a spiritual path my whole life. From the day I was sick, I remember my first spiritual experience when I was 6 years old. So I was on the path forever, you know?
All paths are valid. All ways are valid. Lester Levinson, who's featured in the book The Greatest Secret, he's somebody, even though he passed away, I consider him one of my teachers and mentors because I learned a lot from him. Lester Levinson, his thing was like, I'll help you get the riches and the manifestation and all these things, because I know once you get them and you realize that you're not free, you're not more happy, you're not like in bliss and peace and joy and all of those things and safety and freedom, then some people need to experience the material gain in order to realize that, oh, the answer is not there. And that's fine. That was me. I used manifestation for material gain for decades. And there came a point where it's like, okay, there's something else. And so there's no wrong path. If the path is through different holistic and spiritual healing modality, wonderful. If the path is the direct path and you just happen to see your true nature, wonderful. If your path is like an Eckhart Tolle situation where he was so deep in suffering that his ego just collapsed, great. You know, all paths are equally valid.
Absolutely. I think that's a beautiful way to close this conversation, because it's true. I think everybody has their own path, and that's why we do these conversations, to make sure that nobody feels left out, and that you can also identify with a story that is very similar to your story. So, Corina, I'll put all your links down here under the video, so that people can find you. Is there one last thing that you would like our audience to stay with?
Yeah, when people say you don't need it and all of that, really the reason that that's said is because it's like you already know your isness. We cannot not be aware of our own awareness. It's the only thing we know. And that's why it's called the greatest secret. That's why it's called the great cosmic joke. That's why people say it's closer than your breath, or it's like the ocean seeking water. It's already what you are, and you're experiencing it every single moment of your waking reality. So
yeah, it's so true. Thank
We're
you so much.
Already enlightened. Yeah.
We are. That's the hill. That is it. That is all already enlightened, and we don't even realize it. That's the truth. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I hope that people are going to reach out to you and for whatever, and also follow you on I know that you have a lot of going on also on Facebook and on Instagram, so people will be able to find you there too. Okay, have a wonderful day, everybody, and I see you guys for the next Soul Sister story very soon. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us. If our journey today resonated with you, please consider subscribing and liking this video to support our growing community. For more insights and resources, be sure to check the links in the description below. They're filled with valuable information and support to guide you on your spiritual path. Remember, your soul's journey is unique and magnificent. Stay connected, keep exploring, and let's continue this journey together in our next episode. Until then, keep listening to the whispers of your soul and embrace the life of your dreams.